Hello everyone, Leslie Cornwell here. This next section of the home birth practice course has to do with deciding to be in network versus out of network with an insurance company. It's a big decision to make. It has short-term and long-term risk and benefits to it. That's the whole point of these courses, is to really give you a good foundation of business sense. Think about questions for your practice before they become an issue so you can put out a fire before it even exists, if that makes sense. So I want you to think about, what are your competitors doing? First of all, what is in network versus out of network? So if you choose to be in network, specifically with an HMO plan, a plan that only has in-network benefits, there's a lot of benefits to your clients. The Affordable Care Act will pay for a good chunk of their services with you, so maternity and newborn care, even if their deductible's not met, which is awesome. A lot of your competitors are going to be in network as far as the traditional medical system, the doctors and the hospitals. So if you choose not to be in network, definitely families have to really want your care, because out-of-network benefits, some insurances have out-of-network benefits, a PPO plan, some don't, and it's not going to be as good as if they choose an in-network provider. They're preferring to pick you, so you've got to do a higher branding, a higher marketing campaign if you're going to be out-of-network or cash versus in-network. So those are things to think about. The big difference with being in network versus out of network is, if you're in network with an insurance company, you are contracting with them. You are willing to accept their lower end negotiated fee rate for services. And I always laugh with saying negotiated. So it's one-sided negotiation. Until you're a big, well-established practice, it's hard to negotiate with an insurance company for those in network rates for services. So a 59400, you ask them, what is their in-network negotiated rate, and you decide with your fee schedule and your numbers, does it make sense to care for a woman with your practice and that overhead cost that they're giving you? Because you can't charge the families anything more for covered services than what the insurance company has if you become in-network. For non-covered services, you can definitely maybe increase your fee schedule a little bit to make up for that difference. So there's creative things you can do to offset some of those lower end. So you just have to decide, what are the other midwives in the area doing? Are they all cash? Are they all out of network? Are some of them in network? Most midwives, I would say, to be successful long term, choose to stay out of network because you're doing a small private practice. You're doing 6 to 8 births a month. You're not doing 12 to 14 births a month. You don't have a hospital. You don't have a birth center. You have a radius to serve, and you can only be in so many places at once. Plus, as a midwife, we want quality care. We don't want quantity care. We want education, personalization, safety. And so being able to offer that in the current healthcare system, with how insurance companies dictate that code is set up more for the hospital setting, where the nurses do most of the labor support and the doctor comes in and catches the baby. That code for delivery is not set up for a home birth midwife. There's other codes you can use to implement to offset some of that cost, and that's talked about in our billing course. But that's the big thing to think about, in-network versus out-of-network. Can you financially survive taking a lower end cut? The average I've seen is around $2,000 versus a typical home birth midwife's overhead cost is more like $4,000, $4,500. So to take a 50% pay cut, are you going to take double the women? Are you going to do more GYN services? How are you going to offset that revenue to your practice if you choose to be in network? And you don't have to be in network with all of them. You can choose one insurance plan to be in network with and another to be out of network. So just because you decide with one, it's not an umbrella across all insurance companies. So I really want to stress, look at every insurance company, have good conversations, do a good cost analysis, figure out how many consumers in your area might come see your services, and it's a make or break, that particularly the HMO plans versus the PPO. They can still come see you. It's just going to be a higher responsibility versus their insurance doesn't cover anything. So those are things to think about. With credentialing, so you decided, yep, I want to be in network with Blue Cross Blue Shield. I found that their fee schedule is reasonable. I have a lot of women that really would like to come see me with the Affordable Care Act and get covered. So you have to get the contract from the insurance company, and you have to be diligent about keeping up with the paperwork. The application process can take 3 to 6 months easily. I've had a couple do 45 to 60 days, but that's more the small private. When you're dealing dealing with a larger company that's more complex. They'll ask you questions every couple weeks. You've got to follow up with them within 7 days, or your application goes away. So it's a complicated process to become in network. It's a complicated process to become out of network. There's only a certain time span with most of them each year that you're allowed to get out of network. So it's a big deal to decide. You can't say, well, I'm going to try it for 3 months, see if I like it, and then get back out. It doesn't work that way. So deciding to become in network, I just want to stress, is a big deal. And just learn your practice and learn your analysis of what your specific overhead is. Some people are going to have malpractice insurance, some people aren't. Some people are going to have 3, 5 midwives, some are going to have 1. Some people are going to have lots of staff, and some people are going to be solo. So you really have to decide with your specific business plan, overhead costs, break-even point, your analysis, where you need to be and where do you want to be. If you want a good work-life balance, you're going to want to take less women and share call with someone than if you're like, I don't mind, my kids are out of the house, I don't mind being on call and available more, and I don't mind being busy. Then you can take a little more ladies and you're willing to take a little bit less for your pay. With the negotiating, I'm going to talk more about negotiating with insurance companies out of network. It's really difficult to negotiate when you get that once a year time opportunity in network, but we can definitely talk about it more in the billing and coding course. The out of network negotiating, it's a pretty cool process because you charge your rate and they'll say, well, this is the amount we allow. Are you willing to take a little bit more? Here's my point. So for example, for maternity care, you may bill $6,000 to the insurance company. It's always going to be higher than what your goal is. And they say, well, we typically will pay about $3,000, but if you negotiate with me, I'll pay you more like $4,000, $4,500, but do not charge the family the difference. This is the rate we're going to allow. I'm going to give a little as the insurance company. You come down on your fee schedule a little bit, and then it'll help out the family. So that's something you can decide to negotiate with your billing. But you have to decide your break-even point and where do you want to be with the families, especially when you know you may or may not get paid that difference. If it's a year, year and a half later and they're done having babies, you're a lot less likely the outstanding balance to get paid from the family. So that's part of that decision. Do I get from the families their estimated cost up front or wait till the insurance processes? That's a whole nother discussion. So as far as in-network versus out-of-network with insurance, just think about what are the payers in the area. What are the other midwives, doctors, offices, birth centers, your competition doing? What are women looking for? Obviously, healthcare is crazy expensive. And if you're a cash-based office, you're going to get a small select that can afford your services and really, really want it. If you want to be able to offer your services to more women, you need to be able to consider being in-network, out-of-network, depending on the payers in your area. In-network is very difficult. I would say I've seen the most success, maybe 10-20% of a practice is in network, 30 to 70% out of network, and then the other 15-20% is cash basis. So having your accepting new patients and keeping in mind, you don't want a ton of Medicaid, you don't want a ton of in-network payers with your practice delivery list each month if you can help it. Just to kind of get a good mix of getting a higher end payment, getting a simple, not billing insurance payment, and then an in-network, a lower, but now you're going to be able to get more covered by the insurance versus the family.